The next ramble I want to get into is Smeetas and Vacuum. So it's been a while now since the Smeeta Kavat, the space cat of Warframe, had its nerf, basically its ability to grant a rare resource from the planet or tile set you're on, and just put it right there into your inventory so long as you complete the mission. Now, it was a drastic reduction, but the amount of resources that the Smeeta was granting initially was drastic to begin with. There were players walking away with 40 neurodes or argon crystals after 40 minutes in, or even 20 minutes in a survival. And what I initially wanted to show here was I wanted to create a sample. I wanted to have an experiment where I would go to Ilara, and I went to Ilara 6 times. And I would play 20-minute matches, and I would see and count, double-check my findings through video, how many neural sensors I was picking up, and how many were granted to me by my Smeeta Kavat. Now, the issue with this that I realized after I pick up a neural sensor right here was that I can't show you 120 minutes of gameplay, or you definitely wouldn't watch that. And honestly, it occurred to me additionally that even if I show you, most players are going to do what they're going to do. What this really was about was showing myself something I need. And I wasn't sure if the Smeeta would still grant me more of a rare resource than simply going to a tile set. Now, one could easily say, Scott, you can just go to fight Alid V at, I believe it's the Mesto, on Jupiter. But do you always want to fight Alid V would be my counterpoint, and my personal answer is no. The thing is that we have to figure out what we want to do for ourselves. Guns, melee weapons, frames. The game isn't limited to... Warframe isn't limited to just what is the thing that works. No, Warframe has a lot of room for what are you going to play with? Because that is exactly what you're doing, and you have a lot of room to do that kind of play. So, for me, these were my results, to kind of show myself that I do want to use my Smeeta Kavat, not only just in general, but to farm rare resources. It was not a large sample size. If you really want to run a proper experiment to show data proven, data that could be factual, proven through the data and the math, then probably a larger sample size would be necessary. 10 to even 20 matches, 20 minutes apiece at one set location. But going to Ilara, this is what I got, and I was very happy with the results. It showed me that my Smeeta Kavat is quite effective. And that's really the thing of it. Yeah, I could go to Alid V all the time, but that gets boring, and sometimes you want to rank things up, sometimes you just want to play a different mission type, and sometimes I just want to play a survival. Sometimes I want to play a survival on my own because it's easier to leave when I'm ready to leave, but that is a different topic or ramble for a different time. So, yeah, my results were basically, as I said, 20 minutes, and when that 20 minutes would pass, I would try my best to stop fighting. I would try to completely stop killing and immediately move to extraction. And yeah, basically I would just fight and pick up and then do the math afterwards and review the videos. And these were my results, and the Smeeta still gave me more neural sensors, than the actual mission would. And again, for if you need like just a quick batch of them, Alid V is probably the answer. She seems to be dropping them almost 100% of the time now, since the Spectres of the Rail update. Now, the reason that I will talk about Vacuum within the same breath as talking about the Smeeta here is because a lot of players did go and say that, well, they're just going to convert back to using Carrier now because it makes the Smeeta useless, and obviously that's an opinion. just like I have my opinion here, but I have proven to myself and potentially a few viewers here that if you want rare resources, the Smeeta not only has a cluster of cool abilities or cool perks that it can bestow upon the player, it also just has the ability to provide more resources than you might anticipate. So let's talk about Vacuum. It was recently brought up on DevStream 80 that Vacuum will be going global for all sentience? Yeah, Vacuum. All the sentience will have Vacuum, guys. We're fucked. No, all Sentinels will have Vacuum. Now, I do want to point out that I watched, it was either Xbox One at 1, it was either Xbox One at 1, PS4 at 4, or the primetime, one of those three that followed DevStream 80, where I do recall someone asking if the Kavats and Kubros will also have the ability to pick up items. And one of them commented that yes, it should happen. Now, is that direct from the devs? Drew and Megan and Rebecca are obviously on the community side, but yes, I think they know what they're talking about, so that's good news. I would love to see more out of the Kubros and the Kavats, especially at the higher level. I do feel like at the highest level, or at least for myself and my friends who are at the highest level, those survival mods really fall off in favor of quick thinking and just condensing for more power strength, more range, etc., etc. And that obviously affects the Kubros and the Kavats because they use health and shield and armor links as opposed to actually individual shields and health for the Kavats and Kubros. Obviously, this can still affect on tanky characters. You can obviously use someone like Inaros with a Kavat or Kubro, and they have a massive benefit from running with Inaros. But at the same time, it still limits them. It still limits their viability. I hate to say that I would like to see individual shields and health for the Kavats and Kubros, but I do feel like that would be more functional. And I like the variety that Shield Link offered, but I felt like once I exited the high mid-game, or maybe early late game, with my PS4 account, I just, they lose more utility. The Kavats and Kubros kind of have this bell curve of survivability. As you rank up those bronze survivability mods, their utility increases massively, but then of course it drops off as you try to remove those mods in place of power and range and duration. So anyway, it was brought up a long time ago how much carrier and vacuum was used. In fact, it might almost be a year ago to this point that was brought up, and possibly making it global. So obviously development takes time, and seeing proper statistics and inserting things like the Kavats to see if it offsets the player need for vacuum. But apparently, with the Kavat nerf, the stats are trending back towards carrier and vacuum. So I'm not surprised that I see the devs bringing this up and implementing universal vacuum. Unfortunately, for those who are highly passionate about carrier and having vacuum on constantly, the mod is being tested to turn into 3 separate mods. Obviously, testing does not mean that it is what will happen. I do want to talk about, though, what my opinion is, much like I talked about what my opinion is on the Smeeta currently. I want to talk about what my opinion is on vacuum. So let's go ahead and look at the overview for DevStream 80, where they do talk about what they're testing, turning it into, and breaking it up into. So here we have the official overview for DevStream 80, where they talked about things in DevStream 80. Iatan, the new weapon, which man, I'm pumped for. It's basically a new weapon class for primaries. It's a lance type, I believe. Let's see, spear type. I think lance would be cooler. Just saying. And I'm a huge fan of Stargate, so that's very cool to me, and I look forward to a new type of primary. I can't help but wonder if we could start seeing new types of secondaries. There are obviously some shotgun secondaries, but primaries seem to have all the variation for them. Obviously, melee has great variation because melee has the greatest variation, but still I can't help but wonder if some of that variation couldn't come to the secondaries as well. They talked about how difficult it has been to make this new weapon type because of how many Warframes there are, how many stances there are, getting the weapon to work with all the different standing styles and stances. You gotta imagine it's gotta be quite the endeavor. But what we're obviously here to talk about is Universal Vacuum, and I don't know why it keeps highlighting the whole thing. So we're here to talk about Universal Vacuum, and I watched the dev stream about 3 times, and because I'll talk about why I have so much time on my hands in the upcoming State of the Frame schedule and State of the Frame goal segment. That's the 4th Ramble for this week. They alluded to breaking it up into multiple different parts. I don't think at any point they really said, the devs really said what their thoughts were that they were going to be. They just said that they were testing with it. And I do want to emphasize how important that is, testing, because it means that, one, it's not in our hands, so that does make it tough to judge. 2, this might not be the end result. And the other thing I do want to touch on is that this is my opinion. The segment is going to be my opinion, just like the last portion with the Smeeta is my opinion, and everybody is allowed to their own, unless it somehow harms someone else, and my opinion's not going to harm you. It's just going to be talking about Vacuum. And I know, and I say that because I know that there are a lot of players who are really passionate, not only about the game, but about having Carrier and having that Vacuum on constantly. I do not have a bias against Carrier. I use Carrier to pick up when I need things like Nanospores, Ferrite, Rubido, Plastids, but otherwise, I pretty consistently use Worm Prime. He's my buddy. And I like the Kavats. I was using the Kubro, Defender Kubro. I forget what it's called. I know its name. It's Ixo in my game, but I don't know the type. But I do use my Kavats pretty regularly, so it's a rotation between Worm and the Kavats. Worm helps with sustainability, which I'll comment on here in a moment. So they're considering health and energy, and they're considering health and energy, credits and ammo, mods, endo, and resources / miscellaneous. When I see this, as someone who doesn't use Carrier, I'm just like, okay, I'll probably typically use mods, endo, and resources. Sometimes not even that. The other one I would likely use is credits and ammo, and the reason for that is simply because of ammo. Health and energy really stand out on the field, and if I want them, I obviously have mentioned here that I do not constantly use Carrier. I have no issue taking the additional 2 to 5 steps to walk over and just go pick it up or pick something up, and health and energy typically don't contribute too much to my late style play. Obviously on PC with my early style play, yeah, those health orbs and energy orbs do play a much larger role, but yeah, ammo would basically be for my ammo efficient weapons, or if I have a build that I want to go less ammo efficient on. Mods, endo, and resources are pretty obvious because mods I can convert into endo, or on PC I could convert mods into credits or endo. And when I say that, I can't help but feel like, why not just convert credits and ammo and health and energy just into one, if they really do want to break this up at the end of the day, if it gets into the player's hands and it's in multiple mods. I just feel like basically this would then be, you have your sustainability vacuum, ammo, energy, health, the things that help you to sustain the fight. And then the other vacuum would be your resources that you need to pick up. Credits, mods, endo, and, well, resources, obviously. So really, this is just my opinion, kind of a take it or leave it kind of thing. Again, I'm not a huge carrier user. I like the little guy. And heck, if I like his ammo precept, depending on what it is, I might even use him more. But I like variety. I said that in some of the original Warframe, State of the Frame episodes that I did before I came into recording this first season of State of the Frame, and variety is important to me, and I see people not using variety, and I think that it benefits us to have more weapons and more things to play with in the game, and I would look forward to using Carrier more, and also having other reasons to visit other Sentinels, although more primed Sentinels would be nice. So let's go ahead and move into the third Ramble.